Human rights lawyer Femi Falana has advised President Muhammadu Buhari to direct public universities to pay members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities their full salaries. Some members of the union, which recently called off their 8-month strike, had complained of getting half salaries for October 2022. The federal government had defended the move, insisting that the varsity teachers could not be paid for no working. Earlier, we had an interview with public affairs analyst Mazi Chinedum Obioha on this development. Let's take a listen.
The action of the Minister for Education, Minister for Labor, calls for concern. It's like we are in for another problem. When I was doing my elementary accounting, that was where I learned pro rata. Pro rata. For the lecturers to have been paid not half salary, pro rata salary, means that Igige, the Honorable Minister for Education, Minister for Labor, doesn't want this problem to come to an end. Doesn't want the educational system or sector to move forward. If it were in a decent society, decent environment, somebody would have been shown the way out. I don't want to use the word sacked, but you understand what I mean, shown the way out. Somebody, a door would have been opened and somebody would have been asked to please take your leave. But in Nigeria, we can't do that. It's wrong, very, very wrong. As I was coming to this studio, I was called to lay my voice or my opinion on the same topic. I say it's wrong. That's a discriminatory payment. Like what I read, the doctors at Osman Danfodio University were paid completely for 8 months. Now, why paying the lecturers? The lecturers, they embarked on legitimate strike. And the problem is that it has, by their action, it has rubbished the intervention of the Speaker of the House of the Speaker of the House of Assembly or whatever, representative, which means Nigeria and the Nigerian government is known for not obeying or abiding by the agreement entered. Look at what happened. They dragged these people to industrial court. Industrial court gave their judgment that they should go back. They also went to Court of Appeal. Court of Appeal said, look, before I listen to you, go back to work. And they now, in obedience to the court, they went back and they wrote to both the federal government and to the Ministry of Education that we have gone back in obedience to the court order. I didn't read where the court said pay them half salary. Now, for Ngige to have originated a memo to the Accountant General to pay them on pro rata basis is wrong to me. Other lawyers who have called in this other platform condemned it. They were not forced. They didn't force themselves to go on strike. Strike is a legitimate right for the workers. Where there is disagreement, where there is the service, when they are dissatisfied with whatever, it's a way of protesting. Remember, we have been calling for dialogue between the government and the ASU. I also suggested, however, look, let this party come halfway. This party come halfway. When the two elephants, the two giant elephants are fighting, it is the grass that suffer it. Who are these grass in this context? The parents, the students. But don't forget, the lecturer said, we have gone back to class, we have adjusted our academic calendar of that of 2021 and 20 to make sure we cover up. The students are being rushed like Russian now. Some are in the classroom, some have started writing the examination. You are now paid. I think they are meeting today to take a final decision, which means the strike will resume. And which means our leaders whose children are not in these universities don't want our educational system to move forward. A lawyer say if the government want to sustain the little respect and little honor, they should be able to do that which is right. I think the federal government, if I were to advise, they shouldn't go back to court. They should call them together. Dialogue would have been the best option. I did say you sometime that when matter goes to court, only one party survive. I mean enjoys it. There are no two parties that enjoy or rejoice when the court judgment is given. So dialogue is key. Federal government should not make an attempt in going back to court. They should call ASUU together and pay them their salaries. I think, in my own opinion, it's like they've become a toothless bulldog, in the sense that they will make a voice. Nobody listens. The federal government will not listen. I'm sorry, I regret to say that this government, they are noted for not obeying court orders. Even though they've gone and the court gives, look at the case of Ndamdi Kanu, I don't want to bring you in, right? In a very sincere, honest society, you would have obeyed the court order first, then and go back, just like what the Court of Appeal said. Court of Appeal said, Labour, go back to classrooms, then you come back to me, so that if they've gone to court, but they've seen them that they are toothless bulldog. Go to the court if you like. Somebody said sometime you can go to court. We have our say. We have our final say. So to me, they are trying, but we don't have a running government that will obey the court orders.
It's now time to delve into that conversation, just as you had Mazi Chinedum Obioha speak about it earlier. We now have a public affairs analyst who joins us virtually. Matthew Oluku is here to discuss about the ASUU and federal government impasse when it comes to half payment of salaries. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much for joining us. So, when you initially heard that the federal government paid or allegedly paid some lecturers half payment for the month of August in terms of salaries, what was your initial reaction?
Personally, I was not surprised anyway, because I've always followed the trend of things since ASUU embarked on that strike, and I've seen the insincerity on the part of federal government. Though I felt at the point that intervention of the leadership of House of Representatives Gbajabiamila would have yielded a good result.
Yes.
But it turned out that federal government did the worst. But for me, we have seen a government that places zero premium on education. Because you are looking at institutions where even government is saying they paid on pro rata basis, meaning that what they paid is a proportion of what the work done.
Done, yes.
But we are looking at institution. Have you addressed the issue? Because whether we like it or not, we are talking about human capital development.
Yeah.
That is needed to drive all the processes in our economy to get it right. I have a government that do not value the educational system. A government that is not interested in whether they address the concerns of ASUU. If you must understand it, ASUU is not just asking about their salary. What I'm talking about is beyond their salary. It has to do with overhauling, rejigging of the whole educational sector, so that you can have efficiency. By the time students graduate from Nigerian school, it will meet the standard, the world-best standard. Have a situation where the labs, all the equipment that they use is obsolete. When you need that burner in a lab, I can understand that there's some places that are even using stove.
Yes.
So I think the government is not sincere, because on one hand, you try to use the court to hound, to intimidate, to force ASUU to return back to classes.
All right, let me come in here. Let me come in here, sir.
Okay.
Well, looking at what the federal government is saying, the government is saying that they have a rule which is no work, no pay. Would you then blame the government for following its own rule?
I'm saying that the government is not justified stand on the to say no work, no pay. Because you look at what was the basis of the strike. Is it in the public interest? Obviously, it is in the public interest. Because if you get it right in education, you would have gotten it right, you would have gotten half of the problem solved. So I'm saying that the government is not justified to start the policy of no work, no pay. Because in the first place, the government reneged on agreement they had with Asuu from 2009. So Asuu was on strike to prevent the government to honor their own agreement. So a situation where you are refused to honor your own agreement, you rush to court, to use court to compel Asuu to return to classes, so that you blackmail Asuu that Asuu is disobeying court order. Look at the irony. The same government that was quick to cite court order to remind Asuu that it is incumbent on them to obey court order if for any reason they want to pursue appeal. That was the position that they was maintaining. The same government had another issue with another individual and disobeyed the court order for some days before they were able to secure the self-execution. So do you see the irony of the whole thing? For me, the federal government is not sincere. It shows that they are not ready to address the challenges of the educational system.
Okay.
It shows that they place zero premium on education. Because for me, even if you needed to spend 1.something trillion naira to get it right on education, for me I think it's worth it. Because in this country, we have a situation here about 1.48 trillion have been spent in turnaround maintenance of our refineries. And as we speak, the refineries are not refining. We have a situation where an individual is accused of misappropriating or embezzling about 109 billion naira. So for me, I think the government is not sincere.
Well, very quickly, still on this no work, no pay, don't you think it's the government's way of ensuring sanity? So we don't have a situation where, you know, groups go on strike for donkey years, knowing that they will be paid their salaries, while the other people are probably suffering. And in this case, the students are suffering, the parents are suffering, the monies paid earlier are going to be paid again.
I think even the student you are talking about is on the side of us. Because we are looking at what is the basis of the strike. The strike, the lecturers embark on the strike because of government's negligence to obey their own agreements. So, and that has not been addressed. Whether we like it or not, the government itself is not saying that the educational system is out. So, does it mean they don't want to address it? Forcing them to resume to go back to classes, has that solved the problem? Obviously, no. And if you look at the way the government spend money on issues that involve government personalities, if you look at this next year's appropriation, look at the amount we are seeing that is involved in servicing the ex-president. Look at the amount the president, the vice president is likely going to spend in next year's fiscal budget. So for me, I think it's a function of these our politicians. They are only there because of their peculiar interests. They are not there for the interest of the common man. Because you are there for the interest of the economy, of the common man, of the well-being of everybody. And the constitution makes us understand that the welfare, the security and welfare of the citizens shall be the primary purpose of governance. And this Asuu's pursuit is forced under the purview of the welfare of the citizens.
All right, very quickly, let's look at Femi Falana's argument. Now, his argument is that this particular rule does not apply to Asuu because the time lost is being regained again, because the lecturers are making sure that the 2021-2022 session is still in force, or is it the 2020-2021 session is still in force, and, you know, it's not lost at the end of the day. Looking at his own argument, don't you think that it probably means that to a very large extent he agrees with the no work, no pay, but what he's saying is it doesn't apply to his lecturers? And even if we look at his own argument here, you're saying that it doesn't apply to them because the time being lost is being regained because the session has not been cancelled. People are having classes and writing examinations. But then what happens to the time lost, really? Because these students have lost a lot of time staying at home. Can the lecturers give that back?
I think Falana's argument is potent. Because if the academic session is not cancelled,
end up spending more time in school.
Pardon?
I said the students are going to end up spending more time pursuing their supposed 4 or 5 years courses.
That is not the making of the lecturers. It is the federal government that is not responsible enough to honor their own agreement. And the federal government is not even looking at that. We are looking at the situation where the federal government entered into agreement with ASU in 2009. So this government was not in place then, but the government of that time made some commitments. Government is a continuity. It's expected that this government would have continued from where the previous government stopped. But for giving them not to this government, they reneged. I also reminded them there was a renegotiation. And they refused to honor the renegotiated agreement. As we speak, the agreement has not been honored. And the court has compelled ASU to resume. Like you talk about the finance
Agreement.
Perspective, I think it's potent. Saying they are not losing the academic session and they will still deliver the lecture that needed to them to get the knowledge with which to write the exam. So on that basis, I don't think it's even sufficient to say they even work half months.
Well,
Because the government is saying that they cannot pay for work not done, as so that they will pay for other basis. Meaning proportionate with what they did, the work they did.
Let-
But for me, I'm saying whichever way, even if
Okay.
it was even clarified that they work half salary, half month, and say that the government is not even justified to even pay half salary, even on pro rata basis, because they are the architect of the crisis. They caused the strike. It has not been needful from the beginning, and so now I'm back on strike. That's the point I'm trying to make here.
Let's look at this. Where's the place of personalization of this disagreement in all of these? And I'm asking because it was I watched in the media just last night that the Minister of Employment and Labour, Chris Ngige, is set to pay the new factions the backlog of salaries. Now that's talking about Konoa and Namda. That's rival factions to ASU. So if the minister is coming from the angle that they paid on the basis of pro rata, what's the justification for embarking on that process to pay rival factions backlog of salaries when they didn't work as well? And that's why some quarters think this is an instance where the minister has personalized the whole issue and is trying to probably get some pound of flesh. Do you subscribe to that notion that that's what's in play? And if you do, how can the minister justify paying certain people and not paying others? Do not forget that even within the ASU body, there were reports that certain schools got their full payment.
Thank you very much. Even the last part you mentioned, there's even an allegation that medical and
Yes, they were paid completely.
Nigeria got their full salary.
Full salaries, yes.
Allegation that they didn't participate in the strike. And you are not talking about Kunwa and the other association that was already registered by
The minister,
himself.
yeah.
If for any reason you are even looking at that Kunwa, you look at what point do they abstain for the strike? It was almost at the end of the strike.
Yeah.
So even if you are even looking using that position, that there is no even justification to even paying them because they participated in the strike.
Strike, yes.
Because they were members of ASU until they got their own registration. So for me, if you are saying you are paying them on pro rata basis, I think it should extend to the Kunwa members because they merely pulled out of ASU almost towards the end of the strike.
Okay.
But generally speaking,
Yes.
I say that there's no basis, there's no justification for federal government to start using pro rata basis to pay them. They should pay them their full salary and even negotiate to pay them the 8 months while they were on strike. Because for me, if these are people who want to impart knowledge,
Yes.
and if they are not, their mind is not fixed, if they have a willing mind, if they have psychological problem because of financial constraint, it will impact on the students. We are talking about knowledge impartation. We are talking about translating, imparting knowledge on in the students. So I don't see any justification behind the pro rata basis.
Okay. In wrapping this up in about 30 seconds, we know quite well that ASU's NEC, met overnight, and the meeting lasted to the wee hours of today. We're yet to get a full resolution to what that, meeting held. But if, now this is on a presumptuous note, if ASU decides to down their tools one more time, how do you think the federal government should approach this and address it as quickly as possible?
I think federal government should pay ASU what is due to them. And I think federal government should quickly, even if it means borrowing money, spending like 1.3 trillion to address the issue of ASU. I don't think it's too much.
Okay.
Like I said earlier on, like I said before, we are talking about human capital development that is needed that has to do with the skill, the knowledge and experience to drive every area of human endeavor in this country.
Okay.
So if they decide to embark on strike, I want a situation where government will come to the negotiating table. Because if you have a negotiating table, you're not expected to abandon it and rush to court.
Okay.
In the principle of collective bargaining, you only go to court when all avenue dialogue
has been exhausted. Yes.
There was a table for dialogue, and his ministry abandoned it and rushed to court, used court to hand us, which is unfortunate.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much for your time on the show this morning.
Thank you for having me.
That was Matthew Luku, a public affairs analyst, speaking to us about the latest development in the tertiary education system concerning the alleged half payment of salaries for October, talking about the university lecturers. iBrand Daybreak continues in a moment.